You're listening to adulting without urgency, nothing to focus on, nothing to fix, just some quiet thoughts in the background. You know, at some point in life, comfort stops being optional. It stops being nice to have and becomes non-negotiable. Shoes that pinch, gone. Jackets that restrict movement, gone. Socks that make your toes question their existence, gone. You start picking things, not because they look good, but because they feel right. And here's the fun part, you start defending it. You walk into a shop with a new jacket in your hand, and someone gives you that look, the one that silently says, "That's not very stylish." And you just smile because in your head it's perfect. Perfect for bending, stretching, sitting, reaching for tea without complaining. Perfect for living style. That's negotiable comfort. That's sacred. You even find yourself giving little speeches to friends, sometimes out loud, sometimes just in your own head. I'd rather enjoy my evening than strangle myself in skinny jeans. And strangely, people stop arguing after a while. They see the calm in your movements, the lack of wincing, the quiet satisfaction. You've won without trying, simply by choosing to exist comfortably. And the best part, it's contagious. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, your friends start noticing. They begin to respect the chair you pick, the shoes you wear, the scarf you wrap around your neck. Comfort has a kind of understated authority. So next time someone questions your choices, the relaxed shoes, the soft jumper, the perfectly sagging sofa spot, just smile and let them watch. Because you're not just choosing comfort, you're mastering it. And frankly, that's a victory worth celebrating quietly every single day. It's funny how memory works as you get older. Names gone, completely gone. You'll meet someone new, shake their hand, and somewhere inside your brain, the words have evaporated, but the utterly irrelevant details. Oh, those are crystal clear, like the exact shade of the curtains in their living room 10 years ago. Or the fact that they once wore mismatched socks to a Christmas party. You don't need that information. It serves no purpose, but it's somehow impossible to forget. And the more you try to remember a name, the more it slips away. So there you are, smiling, politely calling someone mate or friend, all the while rehearsing the tiny, unnecessary facts that your brain has filed away forever. You'll remember the story of their cat, the brand of coffee they bought once, or the exact time they tripped on the pavement. But their name, poof, vanished. The strange part is, it almost becomes a superpower. You can recall all these odd, seemingly useless details that make conversations feel familiar and personal. You can tell someone, "I remember the scarf you wore on that snowy day in 2012, and they're stunned even if you can't remember their name. And you realize maybe names aren't that important anyway. What matters is the tiny mosaic of moments, the quirks and little stories, the bits that stick and linger. Those are the things that make someone memorable, and somehow that feels more satisfying than remembering a simple name ever could." Do you catch yourself overthinking the simplest things? You start out with something tiny, choosing a sandwich, replying to a message, deciding whether to leave the house now or in 5 minutes. And before you know it, you're deep in analysis, weighing options that don't really exist. You stand there genuinely considering all the possible outcomes, as if the future depends on whether you choose white bread or brown. And at some point, you catch yourself. There's a brief pause, a moment of clarity, and you realize you've spent far longer thinking about the thing than it would have taken to just do it. That's usually when the laugh arrives. Not a big laugh, more of a quiet, private one. The kind that says, "Ah, I see what's happening here." You're not annoyed, you're not frustrated, you're just mildly amused by your own mind, wandering off with confidence and absolutely no sense of proportion. And the nice thing is, once you notice it, the spell breaks, the decision becomes easy again. You choose something, anything, and the world continues exactly as it did before. Nothing collapses, no one complains, the moment passes. So when you catch yourself overthinking the small stuff, it's worth smiling at it, because that little laugh isn't giving up, it's understanding. And sometimes that's all you really need to move on, quietly and comfortably, with the day unfolding just fine. There's a moment in life when bedtime quietly shifts. No announcement, no discussion, no dramatic decision. It just happens earlier than you expect. One day you're someone who stays up late because you can, and the next you're glancing at the clock and thinking, well, that's probably enough for today. What's interesting is how reasonable it feels. There's no rebellion, no sense of missing out. You're not tired in a dramatic way, you're just done. The day has had its say, and you've listened politely. Even the idea of staying up feels like unnecessary effort, like insisting on dessert when you're already perfectly content. You start planning evenings differently without quite realizing it. Films get paused halfway through with the calm confidence that they'll still exist tomorrow. Books fall gently onto the bedside table instead of being finished. There's a quiet satisfaction in knowing you don't have to push yourself anymore. You've earned the right to stop. And the best part is the morning, waking up earlier, doesn't feel like punishment. It feels spacious. There's time for tea, for sitting quietly, for easing into the day without rushing. You realize that the earlier bedtime wasn't about getting older. It was about choosing peace over resistance. So when you find yourself heading to bed earlier than you once would have, don't fight it. You're not missing anything. You're simply listening to a quieter rhythm. Now, and honestly, it's a rather pleasant one to fall asleep to. There's a quiet moment that sneaks up on you at some point in life, when you realize you've picked something up again that you once put down for good, a hobby, something you were absolutely certain you'd outgrown, not abandoned temporarily, finished with. Maybe it's an old book or a bit of music you haven't listened to in years. Maybe it's something you haven't even thought about for decades. You don't make a big decision about it, you just find yourself doing it, almost by accident, and wondering why you ever stopped. What's different now is the pace. You're not trying to be good at it. You're not trying to turn it into anything. You're just enjoying the shape of it, the familiarity, the feeling of your hands remembering what to do before your head catches up. It's strangely comforting, like meeting an old friend and realizing you don't need to impress each other anymore. And there's no urgency, no sense that it has to lead anywhere. If anything, the joy comes from knowing it doesn't. You can put it down again tomorrow and pick it up next month, and it'll still be there, patient, unbothered. It's a small reminder that not everything in life needs to move forward. Some things are happy to wait for you to come back, quietly, when you're ready. And when they do, they fit into your life in a way they never quite did the first time around. Weekends used to arrive with a bit of drama. There was anticipation, plans, a sense that something had to happen. At some point, though, the rhythm changes quietly, without announcement, and weekends become something else entirely. You still notice Friday, of course, but instead of excitement, it's more like relief, a gentle exhale. The weekend isn't a blank canvas anymore, it's a softer version of the week, familiar. predictable, comforting. Saturday mornings arrive earlier than they used to, often without effort. You wake up naturally, sometimes before the alarm, and there's a brief moment of confusion before you remember there's nowhere you have to be, and somehow that's better than sleeping in ever was. You find yourself doing small, unremarkable things, a bit of tidying, a slow cup of tea, maybe a walk that has no real destination. There's no rush to make the most of it. The enjoyment is quieter now, tucked into the spaces between tasks, and then Sunday comes along carrying that familiar feeling that used to mean dread. But even that softens with time. It becomes more about easing into the week than resisting it. You prepare gently, you put things in their place, you wind down without fighting the clock. Nothing about weekends is worse. They're just different, less loud, less ambitious, more forgiving. And somewhere along the way, you realize this new rhythm suits you perfectly. It's not about escaping life anymore. It's about settling comfortably into it.